Hemis won 6 of those. David Pearson won the '66 championship with a Hemi, and Richard Petty in 1967 won it and had the most dominant season in the history of NASCAR. On November 12, 1965, the Summers Brothers Goldenrod used 4 Hemis to run 409.645 miles an hour. It would be the world's fastest wheel-driven car until 1991, and it held its class record for unblown cars until 2010. 1966 was the first year that the general public could buy a 426 Hemi off the showroom floor. This was inspired by needing to have production numbers for NASCAR and because of all of the great marketing that the Hemi had done in drag racing. In September of 1967, Big Daddy Don Garlits won the NHRA Nationals in Top Fuel. Now, he had a 426 Hemi in this thing because Dodge made him do it, and at the time, most of the other racers were still using the 50s 392-based Chrysler Hemi. We believe that this win by Garlits was the very first time that a 426-based engine had won a major drag racing event in Top Fuel. In 1968, Dodge and Plymouth released my favorite muscle car of all time, the Superstock Hemi Dart and Barracuda. These cars were so magical that these days they're the only car with an NHRA class just for them. Superstock A Hemi is only for the 1968 Hemi Dart and Cuda. In 1969, Dodge was out to destroy NASCAR again, and they released the Dodge Daytona for aerodynamics, and on March 24th, 1970, Buddy Baker got in a Chrysler engineering car, and on a closed track, he ran 200.447 miles an hour. It was the very first time that a car had exceeded 200 miles an hour on a closed course, and it was done with a 426 Hemi. NASCAR hurt the Hemi again in 1971, limiting the aero cars to 305 cubic inches. Bobby Isaac solved that problem by going to the Bonneville Salt Flats and ran a big oval track there and set a ton of endurance racing records and a flying mile record of 216.945 miles an hour. In March of 1970, Don Garlits had a transmission explosion that sawed his Top Fuel dragster in half. It was a front-engined car, and in the hospital he started drawing up a sketch for a rear-engine car. It wasn't the first, but it was the most successful. He won the 1971 Winter Nationals with a rear-engine car and then followed that up weeks later at the March meet in California, and he did it with 426 Hemi power and set the world on notice that everybody was going to be going to the rear-engine configuration. Now it's 1975, and even after the rear-engine dragster conversion, a lot of guys were still running the 50s 392 Hemi until Keith Black came along. He made an aluminum 426 block that would start the change so that everybody would be running a 426 Hemi. That's the end of the history lesson. These days, the 426 Hemi has been refined by engine builders and it wins everywhere that it races, especially in drag racing. As a matter of fact, there is not an NHRA alcohol dragster or funny car that runs anything but a 426. And of course, the same is true in the nitro classes. And the quickest drag cars in the world are the NHRA Nitro Funny Car and Top Fuel Dragster, both powered by an engine with the configuration of a 426 Hemi. In the end, one of the greatest achievements was done by Danny Thompson, who took his Hemi-powered Streamliner to Bonneville and ran 448.757 miles an hour for the record as a two-way average. His top speed, 459.588. It made him the world's quickest piston-powered car. And of course, it was done with engines based on, you guessed it, the 426 Hemi.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Kaniskis.
The video had no sound.
Come on out.
But we got no sound.
All right, we're looking for him. Here we go.
Chris Jacobs, has been our honor
by music.
to host tonight. Thank you guys so much. And hey, we'll see